Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmiti Murti Veda Vibhagine Yom Avda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanantam Satguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om. Welcome everyone. We are moving into we are coming to the conclusion of the big picture. And we can move into the 5 sheets, page 49 on the ebook. Or we could go for Q&A. Claudio, which is our official questioner or inquirer, is not present. David is no longer with us. He was also a good one to bring up questions. Anything from you, Mark or Karen? Any questions, or shall we go into
no questions from the Islander?
Huh?
No questions.
Okay.
However, I've got a comment. I was thinking about. I've been thinking about space and comparison between space and awareness, and another similarity is with space. Also, we tend to concentrate on the objects within space rather than space itself. So, yeah, that was it basically. Very simple. But.
Yeah. So exactly, space. That's a good understanding, huh? Because we see that space is similar in which way, different ways. One of them is that we easily discount space, although space is present, accommodating the objects, but we discount it because, no, space I don't even count. So, and how we do about our true nature, no, the mind I can see and easily say, oh no, my mind is present when I experience the world. Yes, it is present because it's my instrument of experience. But consciousness, no, consciousness I don't even take into account because it's so obvious. It's so obvious that consciousness has to be backing up the mind. And it's important that we remember this, that consciousness is always ever present, allowing us or giving us or lending us the mind as our instrument of experience, and then illuminating and revealing all objects. So nothing is experienced without space. Nothing can be experienced as well, in terms of the manifest Vyavaharika. Nothing can be experienced with light, and we discount light as well. So likewise, light and space, they are similarly good analogies because we discount them. We discount space, we discount light, and we definitely discount or even ignore that there is such a thing as pure limitless consciousness, reflecting or shining in the subtle body. We need to come to Vedanta to get to that level of understanding. And then we can observe in our moment-to-moment light this factor, which belongs, let's say, to Satya, but yet it manifests in Mithya as the I am, intellectual apprehension. I am, and I exist, and I experience the world. So it's always present. Consciousness, like space. Space does not become self-conscious. It does not shine. It does not produce anything, but consciousness it does not only pervades everything, but it produces something, and it produces the what? The human consciousness, or the reflected consciousness, or the human intellect. So if we see a human intellect, and then we know that consciousness is backing it up, and then later on we're going to understand that if we see even inert objects, we can be 100% sure that consciousness is there backing it up. You understand? Because if you pull consciousness, you are pulling existence, and then the inert object goes out of existence, right? So this is a way to keep this knowledge clear and firm, so that we can, remember it and see the world as consciousness manifest as name and forms.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is Karen with us? Good to see you again.
Yeah, I just had to eat this morning. I'm running late, so I'm done.
No problem, no problem. Good to see you back in our class. Yeah. Anything from you, Karen?
Well, I mean, to me, there's a similarity there really with, like Mark said, space and consciousness, because it's something that we don't see, and we kind of see what's within it, but not the space as much. And that's how consciousness is. You have to grasp something you can't see.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. With space, likewise with consciousness, we can see what is in it, we can see what is in space, and we can see what is in consciousness once we understand these teachings, but we cannot see the space and we cannot see consciousness. Very nice, Karen. Yeah. Shall we move on to the 5 sheaths? I mean, we know everything. We know all about the 5 sheaths, right? We carry the 5 sheaths with us. It's mostly our 3 bodies, subdivided differently. It's the 3 bodies, but divided in a way that we exalt the functions of these 3 bodies, rather than just the 3 bodies themselves, as a reflector, as the physical instrument, and as the unconscious mind. So here we're going to look at the functions of these 3 bodies, and the constitution as well of these 3 bodies. Let's see what the book says here. We have explored the 3 bodies in some detail. Vedanta also provides another model for understanding the functioning of the body-mind sense complex. Now, it's another way to understand this body-mind. We know when we say body-mind complex, we are saying that I am analyzing my mind, but understanding that the mind is not detached from the body. So it's because we can say, like, I don't care for the body, but once we understand that the subtle body and the causal body, they need to be connected in order to produce this experiencing knowing entity. Because if we are only a subtle body, like in the dream state, we are not really experiencing anything, the Vyavaharika, we are just experiencing the impressions or the memories or the tendencies, which are deposit in our causal body. So it's interesting it's good to remember this body-mind complex, body-mind construct, because what we are is not only a body or not only a mind, because the body and mind is one integrate organism, to make us experiencing knowing entity. So we're going to look into the functions of this body-mind sense complex. it puts the sense organs there as a third element of this construct. This is a way of elaborating upon the functions of the gross cause and the subtle bodies. Okay, we're going to look at the function, but what happens here is that the subtle body is the one that breaks up into three levels of human experience. When we analyze the three bodies, we look at the physical, and then the subtle, and then the causal body. Now, when we begin to analyze more into the nature of this body-mind complex experience, and then we can say we have 5 levels of experience, of human experience, okay? And the body that splits or presents us with 3 distinct functions is the subtle body. So it's within the subtle body that we're gonna have the anamaya-kosha, no, manomaya, or I always confuse about these two. We're gonna see the anamaya-kosha, which is the manomaya-kosha, which is the mind. We know that in the subtle body we have several functions. Yeah. So we have also memory function, but we are not looking into that separate from the mind. So it's presented as the manomaya, which is the mind, which is our emotional and memory and thought center, where the thoughts are generated as the individual contacts the world of objects. And then there is a thought, there is a feeling, and then and those things keep being filed and registered right away in our memory center. So we have a memory center in the subtle body that keeps, receiving the experience and recording it and retaining those more relevant ones, the ones that we really liked and the ones we really did not like it, the more extreme ones. Those are the most retained. So, and then we have, as we know, we have the intellect. The intellect is the anamaya-kosha. It's a very important center. I jumped the pranamaya-kosha because the prana, the physiological systems, it's part of the pranamaya-kosha. It's part of the subtle body. So the prana, the vital air, the intelligent vital air that exercise those functions, that from the subtle body, it can just direct those energies, those living intelligent energies to activate and to sustain and maintain and activate the entire body-mind complex. The body-mind, the aspect, the physical aspect requires this intelligent vital air to keep running it. If the subtle body leaves the physical body, what happens? So the vital air is no longer running the physical body, and then we know exactly what happens with the physical body. So we're going to be elaborate upon the functions of the gross, causal, and subtle bodies based upon the standpoint of their functions. The three bodies are divided into 5 sheaths. As I said, it is the subtle body that is divided in 3. These are the food sheath, the vital sheath, the pranas, the mind sheath, the intellect, and the bliss sheath. So let's go one by one. One more time, look into this teaching of the 5 sheaths. So the food sheaths, the gross body is known as the food sheath, the food kosha, and anamaya-kosha. It is called the food sheath because it's created from food. If we stop eating food, we know the physical body is going to die sooner or later. The food consumed by our parents, not only that, we are byproduct of the food consumed by our parents, because if our parents were not feeding themselves properly, or if our mother, was going through a lot of challenge and was not being able to eat properly, and then it affects as well the newborn child. So we are directly connected to the food, the quality of the food and the proper quantity of food, the nourishment that the mother is getting. So the food is the basis for the creation of the body, which is nothing but food, the elements. We are what we eat. We know that expression. If we eat only junk food, for example, what happens to our body? It grows, it tends to grow fatter, and it tends to become ill, and have a premature end of that. So we depend on this food as far as our body, our physical body. And as we know, the physical and the subtle is one single integrate organism. So we cannot just say, oh, it's okay, I'm going to eat junk food because it's only my physical body. No, we know that if the physical body is ill and tamasic, the mind is ill and tamasic as well. So we need to be very careful. But the mind is not made out of food. The subtle body is not made out of food, but it is influenced by the physical body because it's one interconnect organism, integrate organisms. The body, you see, people do a lot of these asanas and yoga in general, exercises and so on. It's a way to begin the work on the physical level. You do work on the physical level so that you can positively affect your mind, your subtle body. Understand? So you will work on the physical, because the yogis know that there is a connection. If you begin on the physical, it's easier to produce a better, more qualified mental state. So it comes to a point that you do not really require to work from the basis of the physical body. You can work directly in your mind through other forms of sadhanas. And but that shows the way the body, the physical and the subtle are properly integrated as one organism. So once the body dies, it decays and returns to the elements, being recycled as food for the life around it. So if we are buried, it becomes food. If we are burned, anyhow, it goes back to the elements, as ash, let's say, as ashes, or as the smoke, or different aspects, of this recycling process. So we are not going to examine these things very, very profoundly because we have been seeing it on our other classes. The vital sheath, the subtle body consisting of 19 sense organs, is subdivided into 3 sheaths based upon 3 functions. So now we are looking to the subtle body. It's the subtle body that is subdivided, and it's subdivided into the pranas, the mind, and the intellect. And it says here that the subtle body is constituted by 19 organs. So what are those organs? So there are those 5, Yes, Lynn?
I'll make a stab at it. So we have 5 pranas, and 5 organs of action and knowledge, and 5 organs of knowledge, and then we have mind, ego, and intellect, and chitta, which we don't talk about too much.
Yeah, but we have also, I don't know if you said, we have the 5 organs of reception, and then the 5 organs of action, the 5 pranas, 15, plus mind, plus the pranas, plus mind, intellect, and the ego. And when he says 14, he is referring to the They're referring to the, I mentioned about that at the beginning, about the memory system. Okay, you have the memory, yeah, and then you have the mind, you have the intellect, and they have the ego. Generally speaking, we skip the memory system and we just do those three functions. And in some of our texts, the ego and the intellect, they are presented as the same function. So like in the Viveka-Shuddhamani that we have covered recently, they are presented as one single function. This is just for the sake of helping us to break down our mind, to get a better understanding of the way it works. So 19 sense organs is subdivided in 3 sheaths based upon their functions. Each sheath represents one power or faculty. These are the power of action, kriya, shakti. Now he's going to present the powers involved in these 3 sheaths, okay? Each one of them represent one power or faculty. These are the power of action, kriya, shakti, the power of desire, iccha, shakti, and the power of knowledge, jnana, shakti. Our entire life is an expression of this threefold set of faculties or energies or shaktis. Okay, we have a set of threefold of energies or shaktis. Okay, that are there operating in our life all the time. So we have this power that allows us to act, but subtle than this power, we have a power that allows us to desire. Yeah? And then we have another kind of shakti or power that allows us to discriminate, to discern, yeah? to determine, and so on. So it's desire, action, and determination. So in a proper alignment would be desire, yeah? Desire, and then the power to discern or discriminate, you know, and then the power which allows us to offer a response, to act. Now, is desire, action, and discrimination, jnana. Our entire life is an expression of this threefold set of faculties. When reading the newspaper to gain knowledge of various things, jnana shakti is operating, of course. When we are studying or reading, we are activating the power of what? Of trying to understand, yeah? Of determining, oh, yes, yeah, I got it. So we are using that kind of energy, that kind of power. Now, we are not producing ideas and notions and desires. No, we are just focused on learning, on assimilating and so on. Becoming interested in a particular topic and wanting to know more, and then it's the iccha shakti, the desire for more, the desire for experiencing, desire for anything we want to have or experience, to know. So we activate that shakti. And then the moment that we decide to, okay, so now I have read, I have studied, I have understood, and now I have established what I want to do from now on. Now I want to somehow put it in action. I want to know what I studied, and then which brought about interest to do something with it. Now I have this motive, this motivation to do something with that knowledge. And now I want to act it out. I want to put it into action. And then we go into the other one, which is the desire to, the kriya shakti, the desire to act out my desire. When I decide to attend, it's kriya shakti, the power of action. As I listen to the speech, as we know, any speech, jnana shakti is again functioning. Knowledge precedes desire because we cannot desire what we do not know. So now it's saying that knowledge precedes desire. Okay, so we need to listen to something and get knowledge of something in order to desire something. But to begin with, how do we find ourselves in a position to be listening to something unless there is desire behind ourselves? You understand? So it is cyclical again. We have a certain interest, and then we listen to something, because nothing happens, without a reason, as we know. So we have a certain interest that is going to conduct us in a certain direction in terms of learning. And then we hear Vedanta, and then as we hear, it makes sense to us, and then it brings about the desire for more, and then you activate the kriya shakti, and then when you see you want to leave that reality, and then you start doing your nididhyasana until you integrate it in your life. So it's those three energy, the three shaktis. I hear it says that knowledge precedes desire, because we cannot desire what we do not know. Of course, desires therefore produced because of knowledge. Yeah, that is for sure. We cannot desire something that we have had already some contact, and then we want to know more about something. And this is very, very subtle in the sense that we come to life and we know nothing about self-inquiry and self-knowledge until we know something about that and we want it. Or even before we know something about it, we are already wanting it, not knowing that we are wanting self-inquiry and self-knowledge, which means that the knowledge is there already as a seed, a seed of desires. There is already a touch, we have these spiritual vasanas that have somehow direct us, all over our life to spirituality, and then to the Upanishads. So this is a certain knowledge that gradually is producing this spiritual vasana desire. Thus, human life is driven by these three factors that I said it's more like cyclical. What sets human beings apart from other creatures is the sheer power and scope of these three faculties. So all the other animals, they don't have the intellectual function such as us to really know something, at least from our general observation. And it seems that they don't have any conscious intellectual desire, but I see my chickens that they have a huge vasana, meaning to say desire for more food now that I'm overfeeding them, okay? So there is a certain level of desire for other creatures, and it's most about survival. I love to be, and I want to preserve my life. So there is a sort of desire there, but they don't have a conscious desire. That's the point. They don't have a knowledge, intellectual knowledge that produce a desire, and although this desire is not really conscious, it's subconscious, but still they manifest because they run for their life. So they know how to activate, kriya shakti, and then run, but try to get a chicken, for some reason. She thinks, oh, these guys are going to get me, put me in the pot. It's going to be a battle because they have a lot of kriya shakti there to move them. Human accomplishments are all down to the power of these three powers of action and the three powers of action. All down to the power of these three powers of action. The vital sheath, pranamaya, is comprised of the five physiological systems and the five sense organs of action. So now the five sheaths, pranamaya, the anamaya-kosha is comprised of the five physiological systems and the five sense organs of actions. Why? Why the organs of actions are there? They're activating together, the action, the kriya, energy, together with the vital intelligent air. Okay, because if you would have a vital intelligent air without the energy to move it, this vital air would be useless. So the vital air requires what? Requires also the fuel, which is the energy that allows it to move. Yeah? And those are what? Those are the organs of action. A lot of rajas behind those airs. So that's going to activate not only the organs of action, but is going to activate the vital intelligent air that is going to go into those 5 levels of actions to maintain our physical body. Yeah? This physiological system, the prana, serves as fuel tank for the individual. It is the energy running the body, and together with the organs of actions, it is the fuel that is going to sustain and activate the body-mind complex. Once food is consumed, it converts it into raw energy. So the physiological system, the prana and the organs of actions, they are going to allow us to do what? To do certain actions. And among those, we're gonna have food in, So we're gonna take the food and put in our mouths. Yeah? So we exercise one of our organs of action, and then we're going to process that food. Yeah? And convert that food into what? Into physical energy, raw energy. It's converted as well into mental, intellectual energies as well. Although it's a little bit interesting because there are people who stop eating and it's still on the mental, intellectual level, they are very sharp. But generally speaking, so if I stop eating for long, many times I feel not only my body should be weaker, but my mind and intellect should be weaker as well. But it seems there are some exceptions because some people, as I said, may go about without eating. Maybe they know how to live prana alone in a way that they don't need to eat. So Mark may know some more about this topic because he was a great yogi in his past life, he told me.
Well, I spent time in an ashram in Maharashtra, and the guru there was a great advocate for fasting, and he used to put people on long fasts. My roommate, he fasted for 40 days, and he was fine. He used to get up and meditate all night, and he didn't seem to be lacking in energy or anything. And yet other people it affected differently. Other people couldn't cope with it at all. I never went on a fast longer than 5 days myself. I found after the first day or so, my mind became really clear and beautiful. And then after about 5 days, I just had a prasana to eat again, and then I would start eating again.
But the mind was still good.
I found it just sharpened the mind, really. The mind became much more focused. And also, you stop thinking about food. You've got so many more hours in the day, because so many hours in the day are spent preparing food and eating food and digesting food.
Absolutely.
And this is all put aside.
And brings out it takes so much energy to process and digest this food, to do this conversion into physical and mental energy, that we don't have much more energy left during those 2-3 hours of digestion. Yeah, I did long ago when I was associated to Osho Rajneesh. I did a few weeks group in which the structure was to reduce intake of food day after day, day after day. Towards the end, we were taking very little food, you know, and I was feeling wonderful, really energetic and strong.
Yeah.
So how to resist food? Huh? It's not easy because it's such a common vasana. I'm happy that I have controlled and moderated my food vasana. Nowadays, I never overeat like I used to do up to a few years ago. You know, I just stop, and I'm not as crazy about food as I used to be in the past. It seems that sometimes we get older and wiser, as the proverb says. Okay, once the food is consumed, it is converted into raw energy. Fueled by this energy, the organs of actions are then able to express the kriya shakti. Yeah, and then we have the fuel that allows us to go and do what we need to do after some time. We are allowed to, which enables us to act. The mind sheath. The next sheath, called the manomaya-kosha, or mind sheath, relates to the faculty of desire. In that power of desire, it occurs in the mind. We know that the mind has more than that function, you know. But the mind is the aspect of a subtle body that is going to come in contact with a thought/object, and then it's going to have an emotional reaction. And this emotional reaction can be seen as a desire. Desire of what? Desire to have it, or desire to avoid it. You know, it's a positive or negative desire, but the mind is all the time exercising that power. I want it, or I want to avoid it. You know, desire and aversion. Aversion being a negative desire. So the manomaya-kosha relates to this faculty of desire. This desire is represented by the 5 sense organs of knowledge in the mind. So now he says that this desire, then the desire is no longer represented, or they are no longer a function of the 5 organs of actions. Before, we were looking at the 5 organs of actions, you know, because the 5 organs of action together with the vital air is going to activate the body-mind complex and keep it running. Now we are talking about what? We are talking about a mind sheath, which is a desire, a mental desire, okay? And this desire is not like the action, the desire to act, but it's just a desire to have something or avoid something. It's totally, it's absolutely happening on the mental level. This desire is happening in association with the 5 sense organs, okay? The 5 sense organs of reception, which is present here as knowledge. So these 5 sense organs, or the organs of reception, as I often put, you know, they are there to receive the object, and many times it's referred as organs of experience, but from another angle is present as organs of knowledge, because once we want to determine desire or aversion, or I want it, I do not want it, we on the mental level, but it's a mental level that is which is associated with the intellect, in the sense that I have to make a decision here. I want to really have it or not have it. Okay, it's a desire to know something, desire to experience something. So these 5 sense organs of knowledge, which are no different than the 5 sense organs of experience, but here is presented as organs of knowledge, because I want to know what? I want to know if I desire to have it, or if I desire to avoid it. You understand? So there is that in the mind. So the mind is this emotional feeling aspect, no? And then it's going to have a contact with an object, and then it's going to have an emotional reaction. This emotional reaction is, I desire to have it, I desire to avoid it, okay? And sometimes it's indifference, and then the mind does not really produce a feeling or a sensation. You know? There is just this sense of equanimity. So, but in general, it's going to produce feeling, sensation, desire, aversion, and then it's in association with the organs of knowledge, okay? It's going to determine whether it desires it or not. Desire can only arise once the information has been gathered through the sense organs. So we have received the information through the sense organs, or the organs of experience, or we call it the organs of knowledge. And then once I know what I'm dealing with, and then I'm going to establish my desire or my aversion. Desire can only arise once the information has been gathered, a certain experience, knowledge was established in regards to the object of experience, the object of contact. And then we have this desire or aversion arising in my mind. And it is needed for prompting us to act and experience the external world through the sense organs. We're going to experience the world through the sense organs, but here we could say that we need to gather this data in regards to the object, okay? And then once the desire or aversion arises, and then I determine what kind of course of action I'm going to take. It's going to prompt me to act, you know, and experience the external world through the organs of action and the organs of reception, because we all the time, you know, receiving and responding, receiving and responding. But it's going to prompt us to act through the sense organs of action in that case. Any questions, any commentaries, any additions?
I have a bit of a confusion, and I haven't got a clear thought about it yet, but it seems to me that we're talking about gathering data from Vyavaharika and how the individual, the jiva responds. But when doesn't everything just arise from the causal body? And wouldn't it necessarily first have to manifest through the subtlest of the functions of the antakarana? Wouldn't you get intellect for some weird reason manifesting first and then grossifying or you know, it seems to me we've been talking about it coming from this way, but doesn't it really come from that way instead?
Well, again, I mean, it's all of these are cyclical. It's cyclical. You understand? We experience two kinds of objects. We experience the thought objects that is coming from our files, from our causal body. Okay, so we say like, okay, no, I'm not going to interact with the Vyavaharika, and I'm going to lock myself in my room and turn off the light and close my ears and so on. I don't want to receive anything from my environment. But then what happens? So we are dealing with the subtle objects that are popping into my conscious mind, and it's coming by my conscious memory system, or even, you know, involuntarily, or from my causal body, my vasanas, that are just producing thoughts. So now we experience what we experience. Either looking at beginning from thought. Fundamentally, everything begins from thought, because it's our vasanas that are going to mold our environment, you know, for the sake of allowing us to process vasanas. But when we look at a little bit more on a smaller picture, we have two kinds of experience. We experience our inner reality or the outer reality, you know, although the inner and the outer, they are interconnected, okay? Because the outer is present itself to us just in total conformity with our inner desires and aversions. Is that what you are trying to say, Lynn?
Yeah, I seem to keep jumping over the cyclical nature, the fullness, the completeness of experience, you know, and the linear thinking traps me, but
Yeah.
I think, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. The big picture is exactly cyclical, as you say, you know, so we think that we are experiencing the objects, you know, but fundamentally we are experiencing our vasanas, as sometimes we see it put that way, you know. For two reasons we experience our vasanas, because our vasanas unconsciously is producing those objects before us. And not only that, we are looking at the objects through the filter of our vasanas. Okay? So we look through the filter of our mind, which are our vasanas, and not only objects showed up because my vasanas somehow have attracted, you know. So it is cyclical, you know. What comes first, the object or my desire or aversion for such an object? You understand? So if the object came first and then I developed a vasana, or I have a vasana, therefore the object comes, you know. It's cyclical. It's vasana, desire, aversion, and then, you know, words and actions that are going to bring about or reinforce or modify that vasana, desire, aversion, words and deeds, you know, and then the vasanas. So it's all cyclical. Do you agree, dear Elizabeth?
I do.
Great. The intellectual sheath. The next one of these three powers is jnana shakti, which is the power to know, to determine, to discern, to discriminate, which is represented by the 5 sense organs of knowledge, you know, again, the sense organs of knowledge, and the faculty of buddhi, intellect. So now we have the 5 sense organs, but they are being seen from the angle of extracting knowledge, understanding, data. No? So now we have this jnana shakti, which is being represented, you know, facilitated by the 5 sense organs. But the 5 sense organs now, they are not just there to have an experience, they are there to gather knowledge. Understand? So it's represented by the 5 sense organs of knowledge and the buddhi, which is the discriminating, discerning, determining faculty. So again, we have the 5 sense organs and we have the buddhi, the intellect. So that compose what we call the intellect sheath. Yeah? The intellect is required for gaining knowledge, as we know, but it requires the sense organs to report information from the external world. Again, looking from the angle of gathering data from our environment, you know, because a lot of the time you can walk your vasanas and learn and process and discern and without contact the world. You just close your eyes and you stay there, and then you're going to see your vasanas, you know, coming up, your thoughts, your patterns, okay, tendencies, emotions, and then one can as well activate the intellect, you know, the buddhi, to understand my inner, you know, substance, my inner material, mental material. But here we are presenting it again in connection with the Vyavaharika, and then I'm going to gain knowledge through the buddhi. And these intellectual faculties required, but it requires also what? The sense organs when they are really focused on gaining understanding, determination, okay? So we have these two principles, the buddhi and the sense organs, because the organ now, they are interested in in knowledge. So we call them organs of knowledge. These organs of knowledge are important because they are going to report the information from the environment from which we are trying to understand things, allowing us to know and understand which is the essence of jnana shakti. So we can look into this subtle distinction between these three powers. We know that the power of desire, the iccha shakti, if I'm not wrong, it's So the desire, for example, is different from the jnana shakti, because when you just have a desire for something, this desire, if it's only sensory pleasure, sensory gratification, so it does not involve the buddhi, does not involve the intellect. I just want to have that bar of good chocolate, and then I'm just activating that action, that energy of desire, and I do that through my organs of what? Organs of experience, my 5 sense organs of experience, activate by the organs of action, because we need that energy to desire things. The mind sheath. No, we already did that. Yeah. The bliss one seems to be the one that interests us the most, and it's the most controversial. What kind of bliss sheath you can find in the causal body, right? If the causal body is synonymous of avidya or ignorance or not knowing, or no division, so it's very controversial, this bliss sheath. The gross body is the food sheath. The subtle body is the vital air, mind, and intellect sheath, which means the final sheath, the bliss sheath, anamaya-kosha, is associated or represents the causal body in our model here, teaching model. So it's related to, it's there, represent the causal body. The causal body plays a prominent role in the deep sleep state again. So the causal body is said to be the body by which we enter the state of deep sleep. Okay, the physical body is the body by which we are mostly represent during the state of awakening. And the dream state we are represented by the subtle body. So the gross body is the one that allows us to experience the world, and the subtle body, our thoughts, and the causal body is the one prominent when I assume the role of the sleeper, deep sleeper, because in this state, the other two bodies, the mental body, the intellectual mental body, and the physical body, both are resolved into the causal body. So this resolution is it's something that it's not clearly seen, by the intellect, the way it resolves. But when we start analyzing our experience, we can see that it disappears, because when we moved from one state to another, the denser bodies disappear. We move from awakening, and then we move into dreaming, and then our physical body disappears, and then we take the subtle body to dream. And then when the dreamer as well disappears, so we are not pretty much aware, but we assume another body, which is the causal body. So it's as if it unfolds back, or it's resolved, or it goes from the fully manifest to the subtle manifestation of the body-mind complex, and then to the causal manifestation of the body-mind. It's as if it's unfolding back, rolling back, or it's resolving back to its source, or its seed formation. So it's in deep sleep state, because in this state, the other bodies are resolved into the causal body. It is a state of total relaxation in which we experience neither division nor limitation. So where does this ananta comes from? It comes from the from the absence of division, duality, because wherever there is duality, there is division, there is a sense of incompletion, a sense of limitation, a sense of individuality. So the individual disappears, and then there is no subject and object of experience duality, and then the sense of limitation is not there. Why? Because in that state, it's said that the experience of the prana is an experience of limitless tamas, or an indifferentiate ocean or sea of emptiness or nothingness, or no object or no duality. So this gives us a hint that wherever we experience duality, we experience a sense of limitation, right? Because wherever there are pluralities or diversities of other people and things, we just find ourselves, okay, I'm this little thing, and there is so much more which is not what I am, and then I feel what? I feel very, very small, very limited, because I am this thing here, and the universe is vast. I have no clue of the vastness of the universe. And then there is this sense of limitation. But in that state of deep sleep, so the subject, I, the ego, disappears, and the objects of its environment also disappear. And then what happens? We unconsciously or subconsciously, we experience ananda, which is a sense of there is nothing other than this, There is, the only thing there is this peace, this lack of limitation, this lack of division, Advaita, no divisions, no duality, no limitation. There is this peace of oneness, this peace of non-dualness, let's say. Because of this state of limitlessness, everyone experiences happiness and bliss in the deep sleep state. So if we are there and there is nothing other than ourselves, although this I am in the deep sleep, it's very, very subtle, extremely subtle, and but there is still a sense of existence there, and we know that because we know that we don't lose our existence through deep sleep. If we had any doubt, we are never going to allow deep sleep to settle. We know that I am there, and then there is this beautiful experience of nothing but I. There are no other I's there. There is this experience of oneness and no division. So in that state, one experiences a sense of no limitation, of no problems, no desires, no aversions, no karmas, nothing is there. And then, of course, we enjoy our experience. Everybody is going to feel happy and blissful in the deep sleep state. And I don't know about you guys, but every night when I start waking up, I say, oh, okay. But deep sleep, I go to bed now very early. And they say here that people like me, we sleep with the chicken, meaning to say the chickens, they fall asleep when the night comes in around here, nowadays around 7. And then I'm following the chickens about 8 p.m. I'm already falling asleep. And then I have a beautiful sleep, but it lasts until 3, deep sleep. And then I start having some dreams, and when I see I'm start waking up, and I try to go back, because we have a huge value of vasana for our limitless nature in that state. We cannot say we always experience this bliss in the waking state. This happiness we can never experience full on in our uninterruptedly in our waking state, much less in the dream state, because life is hitting us with the momentum of our karmas. Circumstances are not always good, as we know. Everything goes south, as James often says. With time, everything begins going south. So we cannot experience this sense of happiness or satisfaction or limitlessness in the awakened state, unless, of course, we realize our true nature as consciousness, which is one without a second. And then we can enjoy the sleeping, the sleeping aspect in our sleeping nature in the awakened state. We cannot say that we always experience this bliss in the awakened state. Even in the dream state, we may be plagued by nightmares. The deep sleep state alone enables us to experience happiness in a continuous and uniform manner. Sleep is an universal loved phenomenon, and it's for this reason that nobody is happy at being woken up in the middle of the night. So you are at the best of your deep sleep, and then some people make a noise, or somebody, even worse when it's your spouse, it stands up to go in the bathroom and makes a certain noise, and then pulls you from that state, and then it can be unforgivable if it comes from the spouse sometimes. So it says a lot of how much we appreciate this ananda. So therefore, the causal body is the source of this anandamaya, this bliss, this happiness. Okay, so every time we say that I'm really happy, okay, we don't have much time to elaborate, but we're going to go back to this because I love this subject. But every time we experience this mental resolution, when the awakened mind resolves itself, in such a way that one is still in the awakened state, but desires and aversions are no longer operating. It means to say that one is still experiencing one's fundamental, free, limitless nature in spite of the awakened state. Why? Because those vasanas, those tendencies, that extrovert the mind, say, go and get it, go and avoid that, those are not present. And then likewise, you experience your limitless nature, which is the consciousness shining in the intellect, not crowded by desires and aversions. You understand? So it's a sort of deep sleep while awaking. You are awake, but your mind is not crowded by desires and aversions. Therefore, you experience what? We experience our vasanas. And just imagine if your vasanas are now clean and pure. They are just the observer. They are just the witnessing conscious principle, happy with life and happy with whatsoever shows up in one's environment. So it's a kind of a resolved mind, such as in the deep sleep, but the individual is still conscious, awakened, but it's not experienced, it's his or she's disturbing vasanas, because those vasanas were neutralized by self-knowledge. So we're going to go back to this final paragraph here next week to explore a little bit much more, because I love this subject, and it gives us a good hint of how and what it is self-realization, and what it gives us. What is the byproduct, the positive byproduct of, and why this anamaya-kosha, and how this anamaya-kosha of the awakened state relates to the anamaya-kosha of the deep sleep. Okay, So do we have anything else for today? Karen?
Unmute. You know, a week from today is Thanksgiving. So that's a tough day for me because we have a lot going on. I'm not going to be able to do class. I don't know how other people are feeling.
I mean, it's no, it's thank you for bringing it up. So let's move it for Friday or for Wednesday. I leave it to you guys to choose. Friday or Wednesday, Karen?
I would say Wednesday.
Wednesday. How about you, Elizabeth? You're okay with Wednesday?
Yes, I am.
And Yulin? Okay, done deal. And then next.
And Mark, we got to ask Mark.
Mark is not
I missed.
because there is no Thanksgiving in Europe.
Oh.
It's just a day like any other. Too.
Okay, right. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make a note that I don't forget and they don't mess it up. And I'm going to announce it, beginning announcing already these days now that next week it's going to be on Wednesday. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, my friends. Love you. See you soon. Ishwara willing. Bye-bye.